Hi folks, welcome to Aches and Games, a relaxed monthly check-in between two slightly older British gamers, talking life, gaming, and basically whatever other nonsense comes to mind. We've got an excellent show for you this month, including our favourite summer games. James is looking confused that we might have an excellent show for you. I mean, I'd like to promise, you like to under-promise and over-deliver. I thought we should come out strongly. Let's see what you think, listeners. Anyway, sorry, our favourite summer games, our thoughts on Still Wakes the Deep, which was our game of the month last month, and we'll be announcing August's game. But let's start with some quick intros. First up, don't forget that between these monthly episodes, you can find us at Aches and Games, that's ACHES, on Threads, X, most social platforms, and on our Facebook page by searching Aches and Games. Or you can email us at achesandgamespod@gmail.com. Please do, we love hearing from you. I'm Giles Nicholson. I'm Giles Wentwest on most things, including socials, Xbox and PlayStation 5. And joining me, looking slightly hay fevery, is my good friend, James Hopes. Hi James, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. I'm just very hot, Giles. Very hot. I'm very stuffy. Trying to stop the noise of the pigeons by closing the window and the doors, but it's making me very hot instead. So you might have to go back to the pigeons shortly. Anyway, yeah. My name's James. Hello. I'm on PlayStation Network as James Your Boy 1978, as I have been for many, many years now. So please do find me on there. Xbox, I'm back these days. I'm James Your Boy 78 with 4 random numbers again. So I reset up that account and it works. So I can play with Josh, which is cool.
Excellent.
On social media, it's You Have to Laugh with the number 2, as always. And as Giles alluded to, we have the Facebook page, Aches and Games, which I run mainly, and also the shiny new website, achesandgames.co.uk, which is, as the experts would say, gaining traction.
Shooting up those Google tracking lists, aren't they?
All over it.
Wonderful. Yeah, it is a bit hot, isn't it? I think we've had our 2 brief spells of summer, one about a month ago and one basically now, listeners. So it is, to most international listeners, it probably isn't that hot, but as anyone who's ever been in the UK knows, somehow it can be like 5 degrees colder than anywhere else and still feel like absolute balls in this country. So that's what we're going through for a brief little 3 or 4 day spell, and then it's going to get nice and cool again.
It's very muggy. Muggy is the word for British heat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely not one for closing windows, but as James said, we will try to keep the noise out as best we can, and maybe we'll just have to go off camera for the last half hour if we're a sweaty mess by then. Right, with that lovely thought in mind, James, what have you been up to this month?
Apart from putting an ice cube bag down my trousers at the moment, then lots of other things. So it's the summer holidays now, so Josh has been off school since last week. So that's thrown a whole new dimension of things, because obviously he's here rather than being somewhere else. So that's a big change. He's on drama camp. So he started drama camp this week. So that's in Woodley, which is about half an hour away from where I live. So he spends a week during the day doing dancing, acting and singing, and then performs some kind of Hercules thing on Friday, which you're going to see. So it's fun for him. Completely the opposite of me and Sarah, who are both fairly shy and behind-the-scenes type people. Joshua seems quite keen on dancing and singing and performing in front of people, which I'll be horrifically scared to do. So fair play to him. Building work still is continuing, which is why we're slightly late recording.
Yeah,
both. Doing the podcast. We're slightly late tonight because we have some builders who are very pleasant. British builders. Some are old. One's a son. One's a son's football friend. And they come at 8 o'clock every day. They come all the way from Ruislip, so it's like an hour and a half drive in both directions. So they come, they do an 8 till 3 shift, and then they head home again. Fair play, lots of work. But then we've also got some Romanian plasterers who have been in for this week, and they're absolutely crazy. They love work. They cannot get enough of the work. So they've been arriving at 8 o'clock in the morning and not leaving until about 7:30 at night. So they're doing nearly 12-hour shifts and then a 3-hour round trip to get there and back. So they must be exhausted when they go home, bless them.
Yeah.
So they're flying along, but it's meant that currently between every waking hour, it's currently full of plaster, dust and powder and goo everywhere. So we can't get into the kitchen to cook stuff. So we went to the chippy at the last minute today in desperation because they just wouldn't leave. So there you go. But building work progressing nicely. Plastering's finishing tomorrow. So it means you get a brand new games room / family room / entertainment hotspot as of a few weeks' time. So the electrician's coming at the end of this week. Building work moving along. What have you been up to, G?
Fantastic. No, that's great news. And I just, if I couldn't feel any hotter, I'm now picturing what it must be like working in a chippy. So it could be worse, I suppose. Yeah, we had a really good month. We're all settled now, so no building dramas or anything at our end. But we did have you guys around for dinner, which was very nice. That was this month, I think.
Yeah.
And not only did you come around, but we played a real life game, didn't we? We played a board game, Scotland Yard. So I should have probably introduced you as James slash Mr. X, because I don't know if anyone knows this game. It's James is throwing up their hands on the video. If anyone knows this game, one of your players plays as Mr. X, who's like a spy who's sort of sneaking around London, pops up occasionally on the board so you can see where he's been. And the other players essentially are police and trying to catch him, or detectives. And I have to say, James, you eluded us extremely successfully. There's a future or alternate career there for you as a spy.
I've always been quite sneaky, to be fair. Stay under the radar, creep around behind the scenes, pop up every now and again, excite people, and then disappear again for a while.
There we go. Made for it.
Yeah.
But it was fun, wasn't it? I enjoyed it. It was lovely to see you guys. So there was that. We also went to see Hellblade in concert at a local stately home with Madeline and Scotty, which was really just amazing. It was very middle-aged though. We got there early and set up camp chairs in the designated camp chair allowed area at the back. And the original plan was to set that up for the sort of support acts in the afternoon where it was sunny, and sort of catch up and have a few drinks, and then move towards the it's elbow, so it wasn't exactly a mosh pit, but move towards the sort of standing area at the front for the main show. And Hannah and I in particular got quite comfy in the seats and didn't end up moving. So we did stand up, but we stayed in the old person's area at the back. Madeline and Scotty a little bit more into it and went down further forward. But they were fantastic. Have you seen Elbow, James? I can't remember if you like them.
Oh, I can't remember either. It's so long ago. I was going to say that I can't really remember a time when you weren't middle-aged, middle class. But there we go. So no, I've not seen any old stuff recently. But I remember Hellblade from the old days. But I've never seen them live. I don't believe, unless they were at a festival somewhere that I slept through or was passing by on the way to some house.
Oh, well, that was pretty much my highlights apart from watching stuff. But how about you? Anything else?
Yeah. So upcoming, we've got the big month of Sarah's 40th birthday. That's later on in August. So we're heading off to Turkey. I think we discussed it last episode that we had nailed it down to 2 places we're going to go to. So out of those 2 places, we took so long to decide that they're both gone. So then we started from scratch again and narrowed it back down to 4 places. But we were a bit prompted this time, so we knocked it down to 1 and booked it remarkably. So we're now actually going away. And it's also our 15-year wedding anniversary on the 6th of August. If you want to send us any gifts, please do feel free. Anyone out there? And me and Sarah heading up to Chester, of all places, for a couple of nights away, just for a bit of a break. So Josh will be off to Sarah's mum's for a couple of days to have a bit of fun with her mum and sister, and we'll be off to Chester, taking in the sights and sounds of Chester Zoo and other Chester-based attractions, which I'm sure there are many and varied.
Lovely. Oh, well, a big month, like you say, and congrats on both things. Looking forward to seeing you guys. I think we've got a sort of post-birthday night out planned, so that should be fun.
Excellent. Multiple big birthdays.
Yes. Although you and I, we're a bit past that. Ready for the next one, or probably not ready for the next one.
No, we're near the next one, aren't we?
I don't know. It's coming. It's coming quickly. I don't know about you. I loved turning 30. 30 was my age. 40, I wasn't too bothered about either way. It didn't seem like a big deal. The prospect of 50 is a long way off, but
yes.
That one feels pretty bad.
Yeah, the feeling already that we're halfway to 90 is enough for me. So any further than that, and that's halfway to 90. I'm there.
But yeah, you see, I think this is always a bit skewed because if you childhood is completely different, isn't it? So if you start at 20, we're actually not that far through. That's how I look at it. Partly just to make myself feel better, but partly because I think that's actually how it works. We've only been adults for, well, I mean, I'm barely an adult now, but technically for 25 years. So
yeah, but then to be fair, you spend the last third of your life sitting in a chair watching daytime TV and weighing yourself. So we've got all that to look forward to as well. Loads of stuff ahead.
Bring it on. That sounds ideal.
Yeah, get some plastic chair coverings before we get there, but.
Yeah, chuck a controller in and I'm happy. Speaking of
Yeah.
TV,
Mm.
oh, sorry if you,
No,
yeah, go
bizarrely, I was
for it.
about to talk. I was about to talk about TV because Sarah wanted me to
Oh my
mention
God,
The Bear to you. Have you watched The Bear yet?
I haven't watched it. How, spoiler free, how is season three? Because I've heard some pretty disappointing things.
Sarah finds it very stressful this
Yes.
season. So,
Okay.
it's more focused on individual events and people this time. So you get more of a
Right.
backstory, and you get an episode about a particular person, for example, and it goes on a bit. But every episode is very stressful now. So whereas you made some progress last season, it felt like you were getting someone. It's quite some nice parts. This season's just constant stress. And
Oh, God.
Sarah's struggling now because she likes some optimism and some happiness, and it's just stress.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if it's a decision they'll regret, but I think they've essentially really split one season into two because a lot of people have said the way it finishes, it sort of feels like it's a to be continued kind of part one of two. And I think
Mm.
they have filmed season three and four back to back. So, yeah, no, we need to get to that. And I was a big fan. Was it more stressful than the Feast of Fishes episode in season two, the
Not
Christmas
quite,
episode?
not quite as stressful as that one, but it's constant. Every episode is
Okay,
now just
okay,
draining,
that sounds a
physically
bit
exhausting.
much. I might have to alternate with something like just ridiculously like chirpy and happy. Like if Mika has a TV show, maybe him. One episode of Mika's World or whatever it might
Yeah.
be, followed by the bear. Okay, excellent. Thank you for the warning. Anything else you guys watching?
Obviously, the Olympics, that's on at the
Yeah.
moment. In case anyone's been living on a hole, it's quite a big event. It happens every 4 years. Lots of people running around doing fun stuff and winning medals. So that's been quite entertaining. I always enjoy the Olympics every few years. Normally, I like watching it in a different time zone so you can sort of catch up late at night or early in the morning, but now it's in the correct time zone pretty much. So now it's like on. So it feels a bit weird this time because it's on. So instead of watching catch-up shows, I'm watching some live bits now. But it's fine. The Olympics is always good. And we'll probably harp back on the Olympics later on when we come on to our Summer Games topic.
Just before moving off it, did you watch the opening ceremony? At the time of recording, this is a relatively hot topic, so I thought I should ask.
I didn't watch it live because I was doing something, but I saw lots of the highlights of it and obviously some of the controversial parts and obviously the wet parts as well because there's lots of people arriving wet on a boat on it, which is quite dreary,
Yeah.
followed by some potential Christianity bashing and all sorts of stuff. So who knows?
Yes, it had its moments. I think it started strongly. It started with a really cool fireworks, which created the French flag over a bridge. And we were watching live, and Hannah and I were like, "Oh, this actually looks quite good. I wonder if they can kind of keep it up, spread out over the whole city." And I think the answer was quite categorically no. It felt spread very, very thin. There were cool parts, but it was the sort of thing that, to me anyway, it was a really good idea. And then in execution, you were just like, yeah, this in a contained area in a bit shorter than the 4 or so hours that it felt like it was, maybe would be good. That, the cauldron or the Olympic flame at the end, I thought was amazing. Couple of performances, although Lady Gaga was absolutely bonkers. But yes, very strange. But yeah, enjoying the sport as well ourselves. And Hannah will be watching as we record, actually.
Lovely. What did you make of the testicle? Enjoy the testicle?
Always enjoy a rogue testicle. I've got to say, I didn't. That will be clipped, won't it? I did not notice at the time. It was only through the coverage that I got to see the magnificent sphere. But you know, these things happen. Wardrobe malfunctions since the days of Janet Jackson, or even before.
Yeah, Janet Jackson. Oh yeah, I forgot about Janet Jackson. Wonderful. But yeah, the event's fun, but the opening ceremony, it's hard when we've had London 2012, which was a dream opening ceremony. I think everything all came together and it was very lovely, the opening ceremony back 12 years ago, bizarrely. But yeah, everything else is a bit of a disappointment since. Hey ho.
Sorry,
Fun,
I may have derailed you, and this is the point in the recording where we talk about how we're going to try and hit an hour. So anything else, any other highlights from TV, or join us to move on?
Why don't we move on, Giles? Just for hell of it. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'm just gonna share one extra one before we do, which was Shogun. which is on Disney Plus. It's set in 1600s Japan. It is mostly in Japanese, which I didn't realise, if I'm honest, when I suggested it to Hannah at the start. But it is very good. It's sort of set at a time where there's sort of warring factions. The leader or the ruler has died, and so there are these 5 different regents who are trying to sort of take control of the country. There's an English sailor arrives, so there is some English in it. It's based on a really famous book, and it's got incredible reviews. I was slightly less keen on it than I think the review scores have shown. It's not much. It's quite slow, very character driven, but yeah. I'd definitely recommend it if you're interested in historical kind of fiction. But if not, it's quite grisly and quite slow. So yeah, that's the one we've been watching or finished watching this month.
Didn't there used to be a Shogun computer game?
There might have been. It's certainly.
Sure there was.
Yeah, it could well. There was Shinobi in terms of ninjas and stuff, and there was some good ninja action in it, and sort of samurais and all kinds of swordplay and sneaking about. But yeah, it was probably sort of 80-90% drama as opposed to action. And in fact, there's a very big historical battle, which it kind of alludes to and then shows you about 10 seconds off. So if you are in it for the action, not recommended. Again, we may come back to that later on, but from a sort of drama and from an interest point of view, it was a very good show, incredible acting. But yeah, need to be in the right mood, I think. That was us this month. Excellent. Right. Should we go to games? We're here. It's just gone the 1:15 mark.
Let's do it.
In terms of what we've been playing, should we start with our game of the month?
Yeah, remind us what it was, Giles.
It was a good point, James. It was Still Wakes the Deep, which officially is a return to first-person narrative horror genre for the Chinese run developers of Dear Esther and Everyone's Gone to Rapture and a couple of others. Set on an oil rig, fighting for your life through a vicious storm, perilous surroundings, and the dark, freezing North Sea waters. All lines of communication have been severed, all exits are gone. All that remains is to face the unknowable horror that's come aboard. So what did you think of this one, James?
Yeah, it was very wet and windy, so all those things are definitely true. And it was definitely set on a rig in the North Sea, so all accurate. No, I really enjoyed it. As a starter, that would be my tagline. I really enjoyed it. If I was writing reviews. The voice acting was very good. Very much enjoyed the voice acting. Obviously, most of the people were Scottish in it, and they swore an awful lot, as Scottish people tend to do. No offence. So every other word was effing and blinding and all sorts in a Scottish accent, which is quite fun, wasn't it? There were some emotional moments in it. There was lots of drama. There was definitely some excessive peril. Not even mild peril. It's definitely peril in the extreme in some places. Even the outdoor bits where it was wet and windy and you were trying to crawl along planks and escape from stuff, and there was lots of running away from stuff sequences, which are genuinely quite tense, which is nice. The ending was nice, emotional, and slightly unexpected. Almost similar to the TV show The Rig, which was on a couple of years ago. A lot of it seemed to be very similar to that one in terms of supernatural stuff on a rig in the North Sea with lots of Scottish people. So kind of felt like I'd sort of watched a version of it before playing it. But yeah, overall, yeah, really good game. Definitely sort of an 8.5, 9 out of 10 type game. Very enjoyable, good acting, good plot. Nice. What about you?
Yeah, I haven't seen The Rig, and that's really interesting because they're based in Brighton, despite the name. And I wonder, as developers, I'd imagine they'd have been developing it long before the show came out, or maybe a bit before the show came out, depending on the timing. But I wonder if they were pleased or annoyed by the fact that had released, because it does sound like the obviously the concept, the location is the same, but there's more in common, isn't there, than that?
Yeah.
Having looked a bit into it, I loved it, honestly. Similar comments to you, really, in terms of thought the acting was brilliant, very sweary. My initial comments probably cannot be printed, so I'll edit myself before posting my actual review, which will be up on the website hopefully fairly soon. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought this was always likely to be my sort of thing. I enjoy a sort of story-based walking simulator type thing, but actually I thought a lot more action-packed than I was expected. There was a lot
Yeah.
more interaction. You mentioned sort of sneaking or edging your way along a sort of perilous structure. There's lots of crawling around in sort of tight what they called air vents, very much reminiscent of John McClane in Die Hard. I think I sort of thought to myself a few times, and come out to the oil rig, we'll get together, have a few laughs. It felt very, very much a Die Hard and Alien tribute, and it had elements of that, but also some of the classic kind of disaster movies like Poseidon Adventure. Definitely with all that sort of wind and water around, it felt very perilous. I thought the big thing, just to add, I think, to what you said, was the real sense of place. So I really loved the fact I've never been on an oil rig. I assume you haven't, but I might be wrong.
Not often.
Not often. But I think it's a strange place, isn't it? It must be a really odd place to live and work for however long you're out there. And it really, I thought, gave that sense of what it must be like, kind of in the middle of nowhere, battered by the elements. Even before things all go to hell in a handbasket, it was kind of a strange place. Your work colleagues sort of become your adopted family, because it's set at Christmas. So there's this kind of half-assed Christmas decoration celebration going on. You kind of think, this there's sort of remnants of kind of dart leagues and all these different kind of games that are keeping these people trying to keep themselves entertained while they're in the middle of the North Sea. And from the little cups placed in, on desks, the trinkets and memorabilia just really felt like a believable place. It felt really physical as well. I think the sound did really well to bring that out, the clanking and the kind of the sort of howling of the wind, the clanking of the metal when you first step out onto the deck. I just felt absolutely battered by it. So really enjoyed it, and I think couldn't have been really much more different from my game from last month, Animal Well, but it's something I was looking forward to, and still a nice surprise, which was good. So I will have my review up soon.
I think there are some similarities with Animal Well, because it's very dark and dingy and claustrophobic in parts. So if you suffer from claustrophobia, you wouldn't enjoy the game at all, because lots of it is crawling through dark tubes. Also, I generally had a bit of peril in the underwater swimming parts as well. I thought that was particularly unpleasant, where you had to get to a certain part before you died of drowning. Air deprivation, whatever you want to call it. Definitely drowning, probably. So that was quite intense as well. But like you said, you definitely felt like you were there as you turned every corner. You could see. It definitely felt like you were on a rig. And like I said, I've never been on a rig, and the game probably wouldn't encourage me to go on a rig for the first time. It's pretty put me off rigs for life.
Yeah.
If I had to give a negative, which I don't, but I will anyway. I thought the monsters were a bit samey. It would have been nice. It would have been nice to have a bit of variation on the monsters. They're all kind of giant, blobby, spider, long-legged things that sort of come after you. And the first time was very scary, because you've not seen a monster like that in many games. But I thought the next time around it would have been nice to see something a little bit different. That was my only negative. So good game.
Yeah.
It took a lot longer to finish than I expected. I expected to be about 4 hours, and I managed to drag it out for like 8 hours. No idea how, as always. But again, as always, I ballsed it up because I played it on the PC, because all my Game Pass games I play on the PC version of Game Pass, because the Xbox is in Joshua's bedroom at the moment, and it'd be a bit rude me playing on an oil rig in the middle of the night in his bedroom. Bless him. So I play under the stairs in my little dungeon on my PC. And annoyingly, if you don't set up the resolution correctly, then everything feels a little bit off. And I didn't realise until I got a long way into the game that everything was a little bit off. So there's a little sequence where you had to mash a button in order to release yourself from the monster. And in the screen resolution I was playing it, you couldn't mash a button. It didn't register the button clicks quickly enough to be mashable. So I had to change the screen resolution well down to normal HD from whatever I was on, and then it worked fine. So I realised that my jumps and running away and everything wasn't quite as accurate as normal, because the button wasn't responding quickly enough to stuff. So there you go. So if you're doing that in the future on a PC, make sure you set it to the sensible screen resolution. Thank you.
A fine tip, and yeah, I think PC gaming has come a long way. It's a lot more accessible. I use a ROG Ally, which is pretty much like a handheld console. Until you come across stuff like that, and how would you possibly know that that's the reason? Assuming it's not just an excuse and you're already slow and crap James, but we're going to gloss over that.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So another game of the month that feels like a good choice, and hopefully we'll continue that into next month.
Yes, we should find out later, won't we, Giles?
We shall find out later if I remember, because it's not on the running list. So, oh no, it is. We'll be fine.
Yes.
We'll be fine.
And if I can pronounce it later as well.
Oh, okay. Are you going for the native
That's what it's
language
called, yeah.
pronunciation?
Yeah.
Okay, right. In which case, I'll leave that one to you. Anything else you've been playing that may be easier to pronounce?
9 things I played when I wrote my list earlier.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know, it's quite a lot. Considering I played,
might have to have highlights, or we'll be here till 10 o'clock.
Considering I spent so long doing Still Wakes of Deep, I've managed to sample some other games. So yes. I mentioned a few of these in the summary section later on, because that's our main topic. Listeners, if you're looking forward to the main topic as always. But some of the ones that aren't in the main topic, me and Sarah tried that Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, which I talked about in the last episode. It was quite good.
Oh, yeah.
On the Switch. So we played it on the Switch in the lounge. It's like a puzzle game, sort of kind of escape roomy. So you get to different doors that are locked and you solve different puzzles to get through them. And there's generic overall puzzles that you can solve to get through shortcuts and all kinds of stuff. And it's quite creepy. There's a tiny bit horror-y, I suppose. Very black and white and red in its presentation. So it was good fun. Didn't get very far on it. Played it for a couple of evenings, enjoyed it. So I would still recommend that one, and we get back into that at some stage. Probably a bit of like a puzzle game that you might have been playing as well, but we shall see when you come into that one later. And another very short go, I tried Hellblade, because you mentioned that in the last episode.
Oh, yeah.
I always try and take the things that you mentioned on board and then factor them into my playing schedule for the following month.
Okay, this sounds ominous.
And again, I played it on PC because it's free on Game Pass. And again, I spent a good 45 minutes trying to dick around with the screen resolution to make it playable, because the screen resolution I had originally, it like stuttered towards sending you on a little love boat, and I was like, jeez. But when I actually got the screen res right, it's a great game. Loved it. And I really enjoyed wearing the headset to get you mentioned last month, they have voices talking to you in her head from her mild mental illness. So you get lots of voices telling you to do stuff and another voice telling you not to do stuff and go back and why is she doing this and blah, blah, blah. And I found it quite atmospheric, so I quite enjoyed that side of it. So I've not got that far. I've got to the gates of hell, and now I'm going off to do the 2 different missions to get the approval of the 2 different gods or whatever they are. So really good, really atmospheric. Yeah, probably going to be a little bit gory and quite dark again, like most of the games that I play these days in my current mental headspace. But yeah, very enjoyable, great graphics, seems really good so far. And just harping back to Still Wakes of Deep, that's also really good at headphones. So if you do ever play it, with the rig sounds and the wind sounds and the monster sounds in the background, that's really good on the headphones as well. So I play most games on the headphones these days so as not to wake my mum and the fish and the other inhabitants of the hallway. So headphones are always good for me.
Hang on, I thought your mum had a room. Are you letting her sleep in the hallway?
No, well, my mum has a room off the hallway, but then it's been so hot recently, she has a door open, so I can't really make noise on the PC. But I can't get angry at games, and I can't have them on loud.
Makes sense. I just had an image that while the building work was going on, you were like, just sleep in the hall, Mum.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
So that were those 2. Most of the other games I played are relating to our summer theme later on. So I'll also quickly mention Alice Madness Returns. I went back to that one and played that for another few hours. Again, great game. Still love it. Still very awesome from many years ago that you can only really play on Steam these days. So I've been playing on that one. I've started using the Xbox controller on it now, which is a lot better than using the PlayStation controller because obviously it's designed
more
is that
around. Because it's a better controller, James?
No, it's because it's more basic. So the basic controls in 2012 work much better on an Xbox controller than a modern PlayStation controller.
Regular listeners will know what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I also carried on a bit of Animal Well just to. I know you stepped away from it a little bit because it got a bit frustrating, but I carried on and I've sold a few more little bits. I'm probably still way behind where you got to, but I'm still enjoying bits of it. Got frustrating for a while, but I managed to overcome something last night, which made me feel good about myself. So that was that, really.
So hopefully, unless you play the FromSoft games and things like Sekiro, shout out to Scotty, who will no doubt be listening and telling me how good it is. But unless you play stuff like that, I think games should make you feel good about yourself. as opposed to the Dark Souls games and FromSoft games, which just make you throw your controller at the wall. In my experience, still going to find that one game, Scotty. I know there's one out there that's going to be a breakthrough for me. But yes, a dark theme, James. But looking forward to your Shards of Light coming when we talk about summer games later on.
Many shards, many shards.
Well, I should start with an apology. So I've only got 2 other games, but I should start with an apology, James, because when you started putting forward some suggestions for this upcoming game of the month, it turned out that I had played 2 of them this month. So maybe we need to plan a bit further ahead in future, or I just need to stop gorging on brand new games.
Just stop.
Just stop. People say that to me a lot. But no, soldiering on. 2 games I've been playing, or we've been playing. The first one, which was Curse of the Golden Idol. That's we as Hannah and I. So puzzle game, which James suggested for the game of the month, and I would recommend everyone giving a go. It is it's really unique. It's a puzzle game. You're sort of presented with a tableau, a sort of image with some mild animation, but essentially a static image of a kind of the fallout of a death of some description, usually linked to the, or in fact always linked to this golden idol, which sort of themes throughout the different puzzles, and you kind of investigate the picture a bit like the old point and click adventures, but investigate the picture kind of looking into what things are in terms of items or people or scenes, and you're trying to solve what happened essentially. So you were presented with a kind of storybook with gaps in, blankety blank style to blankety blank style to sort of fill out the story of what has just happened, and you can do that as it says to you when you start the game, all through deduction and reasoning. You shouldn't have to guess at all. There's always enough information in the screenshot, in the sometimes multiple screens in the story to solve. Really good, really interesting. Starts off quite simple. Doesn't take very long at all to solve the first image, the first scene rather. But we are now, I think, about 2/3 of the way through. There's some DLC as well, and it's now sort of somewhere between 40 minutes and an hour that we're taking to really sort of get to the bottom of each scene. So still quite nice, and chunks it up for an evening at a time, one go at a time. Really nice to play together. It's only one person sort of controlling the cursor, but that's not really, there's no game involved in that. It's really just deduction. The only thing I would say is it's not very accessible on a TV screen. It might be better on your massive new TV, James, when it arrives. But there's quite a lot of small text for TV. It's, I think, more built towards PC screens, and I think it's even on mobile. But it's a really good game. It's in Game Pass, so worth checking out. Enjoyed that one, and that's something we've been playing together.
Sounds good. No, I was definitely keen on checking that one out, hence why I suggested a game of the month. There we go. Too late. The boat has failed.
Yeah. I don't know if we should, if I should admit this to the listeners, but I did, I think, very gallantly suggest that I could just pretend I hadn't played it, and then we could talk about it next month.
Yeah.
But no, we're full of integrity on this show, so well, you are anyway. So you told me you can do that next time. And my last one is Dungeons of Hinterberg, which was another thing that you suggested playing, added to Game Pass middle of this month. One I've been really looking forward to. There were 3 quite big games added all within 2 days. Whoever's in charge of Game Pass scheduling needs a word with themselves, I think. But this one is, again, really enjoying it. It's an action RPG set in the Austrian Alps. Beautiful surroundings. It's got a sort of real comic book style, so immediately it kind of grabbed me in terms of its sort of presentation. Really bright, really chilled, but also got that sort of intriguing cel-shaded kind of look about it. It's also just really connected with me. The main character has gone to Hinterberg to get away from their job as a lawyer, just as a break, and is having a bit of a sort of existential crisis, which I tend to have every 2 years roughly when it comes to work. So that, and it was really well, it's all text, but it was really well written. The way that they express that, the way the character talks about kind of wanting to kind of do something and sort of rediscover something in themselves. And yeah, it's this beautiful village in the Austrian Alps where for some reasons possibly to be explained, kind of monsters and magic have appeared, and there are these dungeons, or rather sort of puzzle rooms essentially, that you I think there's 25 of them in total, and you kind of puzzle and fight your way through them. So there's a relationship element in the village, so you can get to know other characters. That's quite like Persona. The dungeons apparently are quite like some of the Zeldas. Each area has its own tools, so you'll get kind of 2 tools or weapons or items to use in that area, and there's a couple of dungeons in each area. So it's really fresh. And so far I've played through about 6 or 7 of the dungeons. Again, roughly kind of somewhere between half an hour for each dungeon. So it's quite a nice sort of bite size for each night for me. And each dungeon's been completely different. So I've really enjoyed that whether it's the tools that you're using or the settings or even perspectives, there's some side-on stuff, some sort of top-down 3D isometric type views and proper 3D as well. So yeah, really recommend it. Dungeons of Hinterberg is another hit and is a nice summer game, which I think we'll talk about later.
Yeah, perfect. No, so I'll definitely play both of those games. Obviously, that's why I suggested them for Game of the Month. But obviously too late. So I'll be playing them anyway. And definitely me and Sarah enjoy the first one with the Curse of the Golden Idol. Golden Idol?
I think so.
Yeah,
the Curse of the Pop Idol will be the next one, and it'll be somehow
whole different
Simon Cowell is in each of the tableaus. Yes, good stuff. Well, you mentioned Game of the Month, James.
Did I?
And unless there's any other things you've been playing, you trailed earlier that you've been practicing your pronunciation. So, do you want to tell the listeners what we're going to be playing next month?
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. It's an old game. It's back from the PSP days. It has recently been re-released for the PS4 and PS5, and it's currently on Game Pass, so it's free. So that's always what we tend to go for the Game of the Month. So it's easily accessible for all the people out there who have subscription services that cost loads of money like we do. So this one is called Jeanne d'Arc. So Joan of Arc in English, or Jeanne d'Arc in French. So it's a kind of a tactical / strategical RPG type game set in the 15th century in France as part of the 100 Years' War, pretty much with the English. So kind of the English are smashing the French, and then Jeanne, who is one of the only 3 survivors from our little village, I think, after the English blew up many times, decides to fight back and uses some magical armband, which has some gems on it, which is given to her by a magical person somewhere to fight back against the English. So it's not a real story per se. There's no magic in the real world, some would say. But it sounds quite interesting. It's not the kind of game that me or Giles will ever generally play, the sort of the tactical strategic RPG type stuff. There's lots of like turn-based battles in it. So as a team, you select things to do, and then it sort of plays out for that parts of the game. So it sounds interesting. It sounds different. It's got like a 15th century French feel to it, and it's meant to be quite historical and nostalgic and looks nice to go around. So that sounds fun as well. So all sounds good, all a bit different, all interesting, all very French. Hopefully it's in English, and we shall see how we get on with it. What's your initial thoughts, Stu, when you saw it?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good choice. It's like you said, it's not my usual type of game, so I'm really looking forward to sort of going outside my comfort zone a little bit. I thought the sort of art style looked cute for an older game, and like you said as well, another benefit was picking something that was a bit older, a bit from the back catalogue. I think we've had some sort of input from some listeners now and again that they might want to hear a bit more about retro games. I think Scotty mentioned that. I think I had another comment on Threads potentially about that as well. And so yeah, that that's something that we're keen to do. We're not just picking new games, and great choice. So I'm really intrigued and very impressed if all that historical knowledge was off the top of your head, because it looked like it was.
It was,
and
always.
I was fact checking you live because I thought, is he just Is he just pulling my leg? But no, spot on. And I forgot you were a history student.
Yeah, and
Very
Magic.
good.
But also, interestingly, it's the first time it's been released in Europe, I believe. So it was released
Ah,
in Japan in 2006 and North America in 2007 on the PSP, but never got released in Europe. So it's only this port to the PS4, PS5. It's got its final European release after 15, 16, 17 years. So yeah, fascinating.
cool.
We should let you know
Yeah,
how we get on.
a curate's egg, as they
Yes.
say. Yeah, no, really looking forward to that one, and yes, can't wait to try something new. Right, in which case, speaking of new or news, it's been a quiet news month. I thought I'd try. It's been a while since I've tried a tenuous segue, and
Yeah.
I think that's probably why. But anyway, we'll cut. It'll be fine. Speaking of news, it's been a quiet month. Everyone's on holiday, so that's fair enough. I think everyone who makes games, everyone who covers them, seems to be taking a break. So we've got three very brief topics before we jump into our main topic of the month. How are you doing for heat, James? Did I just see
Yeah,
you fanning yourself?
heating up mostly. I've taken my socks off already.
Excellent.
I'm still fully clothed on the top half. That's a bonus. So we'll see how the night progresses.
That is good. And listeners, remember we do try and put some video clips up after the show's gone live on podcasting. So if you do or don't want to see how naked James has got by the end of the episode, then tune in to our YouTube or our socials, and we will put those up. Yeah, just quick ones really. In terms of new games coming, particularly on the subscription services, we are recording a bit early in the way the date's fallen. I don't think PlayStation Plus have announced their games, nor Xbox Game Pass. There's a couple of rumours on Game Pass, which include the Crash Bandicoot trilogy, which I think is pretty solidly locked because it's got the date of the 8th of August from someone who's quite reliable. So I'm really looking forward to that because I wasn't a PlayStation person back in those days. I don't know if you played them, James.
Yeah, I've got the Insane trilogy on PS4, so I've played that a few times. Yeah.
There you go. So I'll be freeloading on that one. But otherwise, nothing much hitting or nothing we know of hitting the subscription services. Was there anything you were looking forward to, James? I think you mentioned you had got some notes when we talked before the show.
Always do, Giles, always do. Obviously, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is out on Game Pass now as of a few days ago, so I'll be playing that on the PC again. So I've already downloaded that one ready for action, so that should be good, hopefully. I do enjoy the occasional Call of Duty game, so that's meant to be quite good, and obviously free of charge, so much cheaper than it normally is. So I'd definitely give that a good go. I think you mentioned last episode as well, Star Wars Outlaws is out in August, so that'll be before our next episode gets filmed. So Star Wars Outlaws should be good. All the Star Wars games are generally pretty good in terms of adventure games, and this one's meant to be quite authentic to the Star Wars franchise, so it should be quite interesting. I think he played a part of Han Solo, I think, in this one, so that'd be fascinating. So looking forward to that one. And then obviously, yeah, and then also we talked about Astrobot before. There's an Astrobot controller that's been launched now for the PlayStation 5. So an Astrobot themed controller with two eyes in the little shiny pad, whatever it's called. And it looks really nice. It's sort of metallic blue and white, so it looks really sexy. So if you like Astrobot, then that might be the one for you, Charles.
Yeah, no, it looked really cute. Did you just say, or do you remember when the game comes out? Because it's not too far away, is it?
If I had to guess, I'll say September the 6th, if I had to guess.
There you go. Did you just say it? Did I just miss it?
No, I didn't say it, but now I have. So September the 6th, Astrobot is out, and the controller is out already, I think. I've seen it online, so I don't know if it's pre-release or not. The only other one I wanted to mention was that PlayStation VR 2 thingy for Steam is out on August the 6th. So it's already in the Steam store for pre-order. That allows you to play Steam games on your PSVR 2, and you also have to buy a £50 adapter, which you plug into your PC, which lets you play Steam games on your PSVR 2. And you can also use your nice, funky controllers. Can't remember what they're called. DualSense controllers, I think, now.
Dual something, aren't they? Yeah, DualSense is the normal one. What are the VR ones called?
I can't remember. Should have written that down, shouldn't I?
Something like that. But yeah, you can use the VR controllers from PSVR.
Yeah, which is really cool because I like using them in the past. But you can't do certain things, like you can't do the eye tracking, you can't do the haptic feedback for the controllers and the headset itself. But you can play lots of new games, so it's always been a bit naff with the PSVR 2 not having many games for it, but now you've got like thousands from Steam. So be using that.
Yeah, and actually that was one of the other two things I thought it was worth mentioning. There's a big discount on PSVR 2 at the
Mm.
moment. I saw something today, thankfully, because I was wondering how long it would last. It's apparently only till August the 5th. So if you're listening the day this comes out, you've got a couple of days. If you're listening over the weekend, you might need to make a decision fairly promptly. If you're listening after Monday, I think, you are out of luck. But down from its RRP of 530 quid, it's 350, so it's a massive discount. And I wrote, which you may have seen in the show notes, will or should anyone buy it even at that price? Because personally, I was really impressed with the tech when it came out, but I was holding off because the first headset wasn't very well supported, and because Hannah might be listening and might be thinking, do we really need more gadgets in the house? The answer clearly is yes. But yeah, even at that price, I just don't think it's supported well enough to buy. But you might have just given us the reason to buy it, James. What do you think?
Yes, definitely. The only annoying thing is there's some technical requirements if you want to use it on your PC. So you've got to have a really quite modern PC to play it on. So in terms of the GPU, you've got to have a GTX 1650 or above, 1560 or above, which is one of the newer ones. So my GTX nice 1080 won't work with it. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to use it. But for anyone out there with a fairly new gaming PC, it'll open up a whole new world of opportunities for them. So I think at that price, it's still quite high, really, isn't it? If it went down to about 250, then I think it will sold really well. But the original selling price is ridiculous, considering the number of games that are out for it, and considering the PSVR was quite good, and you could pick that for about 50 quid on eBay. To have this one at still 350 quid is loads of money, considering there's not a lot of games for it. So there we go.
Yeah. There you go, Hannah. I think you're safe for at least until the next Amazon Prime Day or something. But no, I will resist. Right, the last bit of news I thought worth mentioning was Xbox Game Pass has had a big old price increase. I know you mentioned you play PC Game Pass, and mostly on PlayStation and PS Plus. I just wondered if you had any thoughts on the increase, James. You have Ultimate, do you? You and Joshua?
Yeah, Ultimate on Game Pass and Premium on PlayStation, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So we always do it whereby we buy massive chunks of stuff at the same time. So I think I managed to get the PlayStation one on eBay for like 150 quid saving for a 2-year deal. So that sorted me out for a long time. So the price rise don't affect me that often because we normally buy a massive chunk of 1 or 2 years when I find it really cheap somewhere. But yeah, so it is quite a big increase. And they've changed the format, haven't they? So the lowest format now, you can only really game online. You don't really get much with it. So I think you really need to get the Ultimate one to make it worthwhile. And certainly for me on the PC, unless you've got the Ultimate one, it's a bit pointless for me. So I would still pay the price probably because you get loads of free games or loads of included games on it. And I've been using a load of them recently on the PC, which is good. A lot for day one releases, which is nice. Like I said, the Call of Duty one, for example, that would be like 70 quid to buy itself. So that's a good like 6 months worth of Game Pass fees. So it depends how you look at it, really. Depends what money you've got free. If you want to sort of pay in advance for stuff and then you just have them for free, it's a nice concept, I think, still. So wouldn't put me off, but a lot of people it probably would because a lot of people are skint.
Yeah, I think it is. I've heard people both talk about how confusing it is, and obviously, this being the internet, push back on how really simple it is and how stupid you must be to not understand. I think it is confusing to the kind of average user that not only have you got these multiple levels, but you've got very different entitlements with them. Now, actually, unless you're sort of on the old scheme for console, if you buy Game Pass for console from September, it's going to be called Game Pass Standard, which is there's Game Pass Core is the basic one. So you've got Core and Standard, which word wise, I don't think they're distinct enough. But anyway, so Standard includes online play on Xbox, but doesn't include day one releases like Call of Duty anymore. Whereas on PC, the PC Game Pass, which is effectively the standard one, but on PC, because you don't pay for online play, it does include game day one, and it is cheaper. So actually, I think the PC Game Pass is the best value now. And then Ultimate, which, I go for Ultimate because then I can play on both. But very messy. When PlayStation rebranded PlayStation Now to Essentials, Premium, and I can't ever even remember the other one. So
Extra.
if you do Extra, thank you, James. Everyone took the mick because it was horrendously complicated and no one knew what they were. And actually, I don't think they really differentiated the tiers very well. I think Game Pass or Xbox decided to just, make it even harder. So it'll be interesting to see if PlayStation up their prices, which no doubt they will see an opportunity now that Game Pass has gone up. Things are getting more expensive.
As always, in all aspects of life. I think the PlayStation system's improved because, like I said, when it first got released, and it was really confusing as to what the difference was, and you paid a load of money for not much extra content at the start. But now they've kind of caught up a bit, and you get a lot of extra games on Extra and Premium now, and a lot of classic stuff like the PSP stuff and the PS2 stuff, and hopefully at some stage PS3 stuff. And you also get some PSVR 2 stuff finally creeping through on the Premium now, which is nice for those of us with the expensive piece of kit that I can't use on my PC.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree. It's definitely getting better. Right, as we bake in our respective rooms towards the back half of the podcast, we talked about you've talked about how you've been playing lots of darker games, both visually and thematically over the years. And I mentioned that lots of people are out on their summer holidays. We've talked summer holidays as well today. So we thought today it would be a good idea to try and think about some of our favourite summer games that we've played. So these might be games that are set in the summer, they might remind us of summer, or might just be a good game to play during the summer. And before we start, just say that we will try, if I can, to post some pictures from these games up on our social media so that people can see just how lovely and sunny they might be. But James, I know we had fun with this one. What were some of your favourite summer games?
Yeah, quite a few. I'll start with the retro stuff because that's the older stuff. So you should always start with the older stuff first, in my opinion. So California Games, obviously that was a classic summer game back in the 80s,
yeah.
back on the Spectrum. So don't know if anyone was played out there. They're probably all younger than we are, so I've never even heard of the 80s. But there's games on there like Hacky Sack and Frisbee, and there's some surfing in there. So there's some really fun, proper summer beach type games on there. So from a nostalgic vibe, it's a nice thing to go back and have a look at now and again. The surfing I really struggled with at first. I remember when I was like 8 or 9, but then gradually picked up on it. You could spin around and do lots of flips as you cruised up a wave and then disappeared around. But it was all very sunny, it was all very light-hearted, nothing particularly serious. I don't think you could really win. There was no competition back those days. There's no online version, so there was no one to beat. It's just good fun. It's just relaxing, entertaining, sunny, seasidey, very pleasant, which is what games should be like sometimes between all the murk and darkness and misery and death that we generally spend our time playing. So that's my first one. G, how about you?
Well, just a great choice. I remember that game so well. It's funny you said about hacky sack and surfing. I can't remember any of the other games. And those are the two that I remembered. And surfing, you were trying to beat your high score, weren't you? So you were sort of beating yourself. But I remember. I'll try and move on from that accidental innuendo. But yeah, I remember on the surfing, it took me quite a while. I used to just end up flying over the top of the wave quite regularly.
Yes.
And so, again, it would be really interesting to go back and play some of those because I imagine it was much more straightforward than I probably made it. But no, great choice. And immediately, I mean, what could be more summery than California? So good choice. I've got a similar one actually. It's much newer, but equally to me just gives us summer vibes. When I thought of this topic, I thought of a game called The Tourist. We can forgive its ridiculous spelling, but that's tourist with a Y rather than an I for some reason that I'm still not entirely sure about. I'm sure there's some reason in the lore. This is a really simple looking game. It was the first 8K game on PlayStation and Xbox, I think, because it just has this really weird, it's voxel based. So it's the way that it generates its graphics, enables it to be both really high frame rate. So I think it's like 240 frames per second on PC. Not that any screen I think can show that, so it's definitely 120. And also really high resolution. But it's about this little sort of slightly blocky character, a bit Minecrafty looking, but a little bit more a little bit more detail than in Minecraft. He goes exploring these exotic islands. So you're sort of jetting around between islands on a speedboat. Again, sun shining. Really beautiful sort of bokeh effect on the screen. So it's sort of it just has that wistful summery look. I keep hitting my microphone. Has that wistful summery look, sun glistening off the waves, really kind of sort of light-hearted tone. And then he goes into various sort of caves and puzzles and stuff within those islands, and it's a little bit darker. But yeah, that's the one that jumped out for me. And again, just screamed summer. Recommend that one if you get a chance, or anyone gets a chance to try it.
Cool. I played a couple of games in the last week that sounded quite summery, just so I could play some happy stuff.
Yeah.
So one of them was called A Short Hike, which I like the idea of because it was short and involved hiking, as you can imagine.
Nice.
So it's a very summery type game. It's a very sort of relaxing, nothing matters that much. You wander around helping people out, take on a few little fun quests as you go around, climb some rocks, get up. The premise is you start off on a holiday with a relative and you're waiting for an important phone call, but you can't get mobile phone reception down in the valley. So you have to climb to the top of this peak on a hike to get mobile phone reception. So it's quite a modern theme, kind of. Like I said, you just wander around, you go nice place. You can fly a little bit because you're some kind of bird, maybe a penguin, who knows. You climb a mountain, you interact with different characters, you collect some shells to give to another character, you collect some coins so you can buy golden feathers to help you climb and fly a bit further. It's just a really nice, pleasant game. Sun's always out, there's lots of ocean and waves around, and there's beaches and people with umbrellas and beach balls in the sea, and it's just nice. It's very pleasant. When you get to the top, it's a nice sense of achievement, and you don't really win the game. At some stage, you just decide you've had enough of it and you go to sleep and then the game's over. So it's just very pleasant. It takes about an hour and a half to solve virtually everything. You can wander around for many more hours if you want to, but just a really nice, relaxing, summery, carefree, vibey game.
Yeah, and that's A Short Hike. I played it earlier in the year, and that's very much my idea of a holiday. There are some really cool mini games as well. Did you partake in any of the races? You can race.
I know you can do.
Yeah.
I made a mistake by going to sleep because I thought it'd just take you to the next day, but it ends the game. I was like, oh. So I need to replay it now because I missed all the stuff that fun extra bits.
Yeah, if you're listening, well, you will be listening after the podcast goes up, listeners, because you couldn't do that before we publish it. That would be weird. Although if you are, please get in touch because that's worth talking about. But yeah, by the time this podcast goes live, A Short Hike will have gone off Game Pass. Unfortunately, it's coming off in the next few days, isn't it?
Yeah.
But well worth a couple of quid, and I think it's often in sale, and I highly recommend that one. Good choice.
Thank you very much.
Similar vibe for me for one was Firewatch. Don't know if you've ever played Firewatch on.
No.
It was in. I think it's been in both subscriptions at some point. I played it on PlayStation, I think, and that is not quite a vacation, but someone who needs to take. Oh God, I became American. Not quite a holiday, but someone who needs to take a break. They go to sort of, I think. I'm just running a blank now. I assume that they're volunteering to keep an eye on an area of woodland in some, I think, unnamed American state, or maybe maybe that's sort of related to their job, because thinking about it, you probably need to be qualified. But yeah, just in the middle of nowhere, again, very chilled. This is a kind of walking sim type, quite similar actually to the balance that is in Still Wakes the Deep. A bit less action, but there are sort of some actiony type moments, and there's just a bit of a mystery going on, but it's that kind of hazy, almost autumnal actually look. So perhaps I'm missing the brief now that I say it out loud. But Firewatch is another game that sort of feels like it's a similar sort of vibe to A Short Hike. So recommend that one.
I also tried my best to find the most twee game possible that wouldn't take any brain power whatsoever for anyone. And I found it. It's called Lake. So nice. I don't know if you heard of it. But yes. Effectively, it's like a Hallmark movie. So you're in a high-powered, stressful job and you go on a 2-week vacay back to your parents' house, which is where you used to live. think your dad's a postman or something ridiculous,
Yep.
and the two parents go away on their own vacation somewhere, I think, and you live in their house for a while and decide to take over your dad's post round. So for a fortnight, you just drive around in a mail van delivering parcels and having general pointless conversations with people around the village that you've not lived in for 22 years, and everyone says, "Oh, you haven't lived there for a long time." You go, yeah, cool. Here's your mail. Okay, see you later. Awesome. There's just nothing to it whatsoever. But it's nice. It's sunny. There's lots of nice trees in the background. You're next to a lake. It's a very nice lake as you drive around in your van. Got some irritating features for a very relaxing game. It annoyed me because the perspective when you're driving a van, it's very hard to see the road. That's the only bit that annoyed me. So the game itself is horrifically twee, but nice to pass some time. So I played a couple of days last night. I was like, this is really twee. I'll mention that on the show tomorrow. So here we go. So the lake.
I'm pleased that there was a lake involved. You mentioned in the description, because had there not been, that would be horribly false advertising. Yeah, I think even I rolled off that one, having tried it. It was again, I have a high tolerance for that sort of low energy, low input gaming. But yeah, that one, it was, like you said, very sweet. But sounds like
very
we both
cozy.
need a really chilled out, cozy holiday, James. We're both on it. My equivalent of that is a game called Dordogne, which is about a girl who goes to her grandmother's house in Dordogne area of France. I don't think I hit the heights of Jeanne d'Arc. And similarly, again, I think that could be have the accusation of being a little bit cutesy and a little bit twee, but actually not, because the grandma has died, unfortunately. And so it's all about this woman's memories when she was a girl. So she goes as a grown up, and there's some sort of interesting family stuff going. But it's almost like a watercolor painting, the sort of style of it, and it's really chilled summary game, but it's really interesting, I think, in terms of the story, and she's sort of reliving her days as a kid and kind of putting a bit more context around some of the things that she did when she was younger. So that was fun as well. Right, any more? I've got a couple left.
Yeah, I was going to say on the lake, it shows you what kind of mindset I'm normally in when playing games. Is every time I drove past the lake, I was expecting some kind of monster to come out of it. Or some big volcano to burst and everyone dying horrifically, but no one did. It just drove around the lake in a postal van.
It is
I was going to mention,
unlike Alan Wake, it is a lake, not an ocean, right?
Yeah, but Wake rhymes with lakes, that's fine.
That's true.
I was also going to mention a couple of little parts of games. So Uncharted, Sarah wanted me to mention, because we played Uncharted a couple of years ago, and that's quite summery. It feels, obviously you're escaping and running away from stuff, but there's lots of nice bits. It's nice and bright and breezy in parts. You're climbing over lots of rocks and going over lots of sand and bits and pieces. That feels like quite a summery location. Obviously, all the Uncharted games take place in islands and tropical places and far outstretched place. That's quite fun in its way. And at the end of it, you go back to your wife and you have a nice chat, and it's quite breezy and easy at the end. So that's quite nice. And also, I mentioned, Giles laughed earlier when I mentioned it, but A Plague Tale Requiem, generally quite a dark game, but the first 10 minutes of it, you're just the three children wandering around pretending to run after each other, and you walk along that river, and it's quite bright and nice, and there's sort of purple flowers in the background, a nice old castle. Feels like you're in France in a nice part of it. And then obviously it goes horribly wrong when you stumble across a farm and everyone tries to hack you to death. But for the first 10 minutes, it's really pleasant and very summery. So that was my last little one there.
Excellent, thank you. You sort of reminded me of those kind of parody TV shows of Holiday from Hell style. That I imagine this group of kids having a lovely 10 minutes followed by it all going to absolute carnage. But yes, great game as well. I loved the Plague Tale games. I don't know, there might be a third one. I suspect not, but looking forward to seeing what that team do next. So good stuff. Yeah, I was just going to add, the only thing for me is I love driving around in sort of sunny climes. I like driving games in general, but particularly when the sun's shining. And so most recently, that is Forza Horizon 5. I've never been to Mexico. You've been, haven't you, James?
Yeah, lovely,
Yeah.
awesome holiday.
Yeah, so Mexico is kind of on the list, and driving around Mexico in a series of nice or slightly less nice cars is a nice way, a good way to kind of feel like summer, and that takes me right back to the classic days of Outrun, with the top down, with
Yeah.
what was it, Magical Star Shower or Summer Breeze or something playing on the radio, your partner, your girlfriend sitting next to you, sometimes looking a bit distressed at your driving, in my case, and occasionally, flipping the car and ending up in agony. But mostly blue skies, classic Sega, and the glory days. So a bit of nostalgia mixed in with some summer, which is a pretty good combination.
Not bad at all. I'm just going to wrap it up. Obviously, some of the Grand Theft Auto bits over the years have felt quite summary, between the murderings and the robbings and the head bashings. They're quite summary games in parts. And also a game that me and Joshua are playing lots this summer. It's not a summer game, but it's very light and fun for a family. But I've mentioned it before, but it's Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time. That's the one where you're on a spaceship and you're trying to rescue rabbits and foxes and stuff trapped in space. And it's a two-player game, but you can play up to 4 people, I think. But in the two-player version, you man different guns and shields, and one of you steers a ship, and it's awesome. You drive around space and shooting people and running away from stuff. Requires a lot of teamwork and coordination. Great game. It's not particularly miserable and dark. It's very much child-friendly. So a great game for the summer holidays to play for the next 5 weeks with Joshua. So we've been playing that every day so far since he broke up.
Yeah, there's always a lot more to do in the summer, isn't there? Hopefully the weather's nice, got lots of activities planned, and so those games that are a bit more bite-sized are spot on, really. So yeah, lovely way to round it out, and sounds like you're both going to have a good time over the next few weeks.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's the show, everyone. Please remember to like and subscribe to the podcast. Consider giving us a 5-star review. That really helps us, pushes us up the searches, and just makes us feel pretty good about ourselves, which, is always a nice thing to do. We'd also appreciate a follow, interaction with us on X, Threads, most social platforms. We're at Aches and Games. You remember how to spell that. I won't do that again. And on our Facebook page, searching Aches and Games, or by emailing achesandgamespod@gmail.com. Don't forget that website, like James said, rocketing up the searches, and no doubt our website will be, you might not get in if you try later. So go now. Go. I'm sure that's how websites work, isn't it? One in, one out policy. Anyway, take us home, James.
Yeah, just on the topic of the website, I was going to say we've had over 50 visitors, 50 unique different visitors with about 150 different views. So it's going all right, actually. People pop by and people have seen the reviews. There's a review on there of Animal Well and Disco Elysium and something else which I can't remember, which was great, I'm sure. Oh, Harold Halibut, that's the review on there. And shortly, Giles' review of Still Wakes Deep will be going up there urgently as soon as this podcast is released, with my little comments at the bottom. So lots to do on there. So please pop by achesandgames.co.uk. And also, like Josh said, the Facebook page as well. Lots of fun stuff on there. So get in touch. Let us know how you got on with Animal Well. Let us know how you got on with Still Wakes Deep. And let us know how you're going to get on with Jeanne d'Arc over the next few weeks until we talk again next time. So again, pop by, say hi, have a lovely summer. We'll speak to you again sometime early September, won't we, when it's nearly all over, and hopefully the building work will be finished by then, so we'll give you an update on that one as well. So see you all soon.
Yeah, take care, everyone. We'll see you first Friday of the month for more Aches and Games. Cheers.
See you later.